Hey, hey, shalom, shalom. This is being pre-recorded, and the title of the show is going to be worldwide, worldwide chip wars. All right, worldwide chip wars. Microchips is big business. I wonder why. All right, and Motb if that title fits in there. All right, so basically you have two articles that I want to go into that I saved about a little bit over a week ago, and I'm able to logo and do a show on this. So yeah, without further ado, I'd like to say Kal Halal Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai Bahashim Rachwa Qudash Thawada Yahweh for giving us Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles of GMS who have the 100% spirit of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai in them. Double honors to the CT bishops, our Begakim. All right, and greetings and salutations to the Akim in this country and all over the world who are prophesying in the true name of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai, which is none other than the power of the nation of Israel, which consists of you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, and anybody who are descendants from those people on their father's side. Shalom to those who are scattered abroad. I am Ya'ikwab. All right, Lord willing, serving the King of the universe, King Yahushai, from the power of Yahweh. All right, and again, one more again. The title is Worldwide Chip Wars. All right, microchips is big business. I wonder why. Okay, one second, let me just write down something. I wonder why. Um, so yeah, I want to read two articles from Russia Today. All right, and all chip news or microchip news um, is all prophecy. A lot of the stuff you hear about microchips in the world between nations and trade, it's becoming a big commodity. And I wonder why. It supports the prophecies of the scriptures, of course, Revelation 13 and 16. Also, Revelation 3, I think 12. I forget what it is. The whole world should be tried, right? Be tempted. The whole world is going to be tried and tempted by everybody being mandated and enforced, all right, to take a radio frequency identification chip, all right, that the apostles of GMS been saying about since day one, all right, making videos. They've been talking about it, right, before they hit the YouTube, right? But one of their first videos that we're going to is the Motb back in '07. All right, and everybody remembers the Rasta Skank video that went viral, right? People don't know, like that was, as you know, well, as some know, not everybody, right? But back then, loading up a YouTube video in '08, right? That's when that happened, '08, that event with the Rasta Skank, meaning that there was well, I don't got to explain. I don't got a huge viewership. So brothers who watch know, right? So the Rasta King video, right? That was back then. It was like 10-part increments. You know what I mean? So the video right before the Rasta Skank video, right, was a full breakdown of the Motb, of the Mark of the Beast. All right, and that didn't get him as many views as the Rasta Skank video, as we call it, which was the very next 10-minute segment. So it just shows you that where people's minds are. They rather see the drama and the contention and confrontation, rather than the actual true edification of the most important prophecy we should know about, man. Besides knowing the name of the Lord, having faith, is not to take this Motb, man. Because as we always say, bowing down to this Motb right? You're just showing your how should I say, your allegiance to this system, which is governed by the nation of Edom. All right, the elites of the nation of Edom, which are the international bankers, where you know who they are, and the Zionist big brother, what do you want to call them? Fake Anadi, I call them. Right, they don't got the light, and the whole world scene, they don't got the light. Right, they got the light of they're ruling in darkness, not in light. Okay, because light's supposed to make you see things, and this wicked establishment, Job 90:24, is about making you not see. Right, it's about blinding you, having Judas goat leaders and puppet leaders and passing laws and legislation that go against you, lying to you about their policies and gaslighting you. Right, they're brainwashing you, brainwashing the world to fit their agenda, and that's part of the agenda is to wipe off the truth about the Most High. If they want to include God in the world, they're gonna put a blue-eyed, blonde-haired guy and make it seem like he loves everybody. They're not gonna give you the truth, and they're gonna give you a false name like Jesus Christ. That's a false name. It's not even in real Greek. All right, and also they want to do away with the Lord's people. All right, which is you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, and anybody who are descendants from those people on their father's side. All right. So, but anyway, back to the point that all chip news, basically, you're gonna hear more. There will always be news about microchips, and it's gonna excel because if we're going to a technocracy, right, as we call it, or if we're going to, they're building smart cities. If this world is going to be governed by radio frequency, right, meaning you're going to be 100% trackable, right, by passive technology, right, meaning you have to have something on you where it can be like a certain kind of radar, a radio frequency that it can always be tapped into by signals, whatever have you. So we know that the infrastructure for this to work around the world is in place through satellites around the world, through 5G technologies, cell phone towers. They've been putting fiber optics and certain things under the ground. So it's all set up, and they're continuing to build in that way, right? So the main component for this to work is like a lithium, because lithium is the key of component to a battery, right? So if you have computers and things that run by electricity, you need batteries. Things need to be charged to hold the power, to transfer the power, right? And also, you're going to need chips, right, to store information, to send information for data, whatever have you, right? That's a major part of the infrastructure that the New World Order is going to be set up under chips. All right. Because basically, like we always say, the last days is really turning you into cyborg transhumanism. And everybody as far as of now are conditioned for that through the past. You can go a while back, 20, let's say 20 years, 25 years, 20, 30 years, right? All right, so let's get into these articles, and then of course I want to bring out scripture. All right, so this again being pre-recorded. All right, shalom out there in the comment board. This is being pre-recorded, so let's go. All right, I got the article here. All right, so this is from Russia Today. This is dated back July 25th, a few weeks ago. Well, quite a while ago, almost a month. But I just saw this last week, right? And yeah, it all supports what's going on. So again, the title is Worldwide Chip Wars, right? Microchips is a big business. I wonder why, right? And so that's the point that a lot of these nations are battling over microchips, man. A lot of these diversions in the news and things are going on are a distraction from what the most important thing is. It's like getting resources for the New World Order to come into play, which is the microchip, um, which is also legislation that makes people submit or conform, right? Which is martial law, concentration camps, people getting deported, right? So it's happening, you know. All right. So anyway, Salak. It says U.S. made microchips come at a cost. All right. AMD CEO says, right? It says the leading processor manufacturer is identified. Excuse me, has identified the leading processor manufacturer has identified a key problem with Washington's plan to rely on homemade tech. It says microchips manufactured in the U.S. cost as much as 20% more than the equivalent produced in Taiwan, according to Lisa Su, CEO of U.S. tech giant AMD, a leading buyer of products. Right, and as we know, Taiwan, if you follow the chip news or chip development, one of the leading chip developers, as far as I know, brothers Akim have talked about it too, men of the Lord. That Taiwan is the worldwide leader in chips. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they're one of the major. They're one of the major nations that contribute to making the chip. Okay. It's like it. Yeah. All right. It says Washington has been pushing to boost domestic manufacturing of advanced semiconductors as part of its great power competition with Beijing. Slocky, let me read it again. Washington has been pushing to boost domestic manufacturing of advanced semiconductors as part of its great power competition with Beijing. Access to such chips has emerged as key battleground. Taiwan's semiconductor manufacturing company, TSMC, right, pinned between the conflicting economic and geopolitical interests, announced it would shift some manufacturing to Arizona in 2020. Yeah, that was bad. That was during the lockdown, right? But again, here, as we see, it says access to such chips has emerged as a key battleground, right? So this is a worldwide chip war, okay? So a lot of, as far as buying chips or the parts that go with that, semiconductors are basically, what that means is semiconductor, where it's part silicone, and part conductor, part metal, where the best conductor of electricity is gold. All right, it's most insulated. Not insulated. It's the most conductive, right? While the silicone is an insulator, so it's a semiconductor, right? So it insulates and also conducts. So that's where you get like Silicon Valley from in Cali, where they produce a lot of chips, So it's a semiconductor, right? Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing, TSMC, right here, right, is they said they're going to transfer their development into the U.S. That was back in 2020. Now I do remember in 2020 there was things going on with Taiwan as far as chip producing, and see, I didn't even notice this was 2020. but it's always been a major port, a major trading grounds for chip. Like you have they're the major supplier. So AMD again is a company in America, right? That is one of the biggest buyers of uh, 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 um, this chip, but they have to pay at a cost for buying it from America with all these tariffs and sanctions. It's costing too much. So anyway, we'll read on. And I have another article. Is a more updated article after this. So right, it tells you what has gone on since this article. Right. So quickly, Washington has been pushing them. So we read that. It says, speaking at an artificial intelligence conference in Washington on Wednesday, AMD CEO, right, this is as of late, AMD CEO said the chip cost difference was more than 5%, but less than 20. However, in an interview with Bloomberg Television, she described the premium as worthwhile. Right? But up here it says microchips manufactured in the U.S. cost as much as 20% more than the equivalent produced in Taiwan. So it's costing more to get chips in the home ground than foreign. Right? It says we have to consider resiliency in the supply chain. We learned that in the pandemic, meaning they had to change their way of purchase. Work around the difficulties that the lockdown brought when buying these chips. Now I remember what I was going to say. I remember when the PS4 or the PS5 and the Xbox, they were stopping in development because there was a shortage because there were no chips available. Right, there was a chip war going over there in Taiwan to produce, to be main component of these PS5 and Xboxes. Right, it says 2022. Then President Joe Biden signed legislation that isolated or excuse me. Let me say it the right way. Say it the right way here.
Allocate.
Allocate. We got it. So what? Anyway, demon computer. It says in 2020, then President Joe Biden signed legislation allocated $280 billion to boost U.S. domestic semiconductor production. More recently, AMD and President Donald Trump announced plans for $100 billion in new investments to build 5 additional chip fabrications plants in American soil. However, TSMC said its production in the U.S. has faced challenges, including high construction costs or shortage of skilled labor and logistic hurdles. Right? It said the Trump administration has also imposed export controls on a high end. The Trump administration also imposed export controls on high-end chips, particularly those used in artificial intelligence, in a bid to curb China's access to the most advanced technology. The restrictions have prompted Beijing to accelerate its own domestic chip development programs. So it's basically chip wars, and again, like we always bring out, before world wars, there are trade wars. Okay, and again, a lot of these nations are trying to get these chips or components that go with this chip. Why? Because all the world they're going to be using ultimately to chip you people out there. It's not for anything else, like they're trying to say. There's a fast-paced development going on between the nations to build to allocate, right, that word we just looked up, allocate themselves into the New World Order, right, to be a part of it. So all these nations are preparing, and that means chipping the people. It says the Trump, we read that, it says Taiwan has been self-governed since the end of China's civil war in the 1940s, when nationalist forces retreated to the island, Beijing views the territory under a U.S.-backed government as an inalienable part of China. The Chinese government has said it seeks peaceful reunification with Taiwan, but has repeatedly warned it would use force to la 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 la. Okay, so we got that. Oh, there's more, huh? No, that's it. So let's go to the next article. It's more updated. Okay, so it says the next article is U.S. chip makers to pay Washington for trade with China. All right, now, a few weeks later after that first article I read, this is dated August 11th, right, last week. It says NVIDIA, if I'm pronouncing that right, and AMD have reportedly agreed to give 15% of their PRC revenues. I think that means People Republic of China revenues, the People Republic of China revenues in exchange for export license. Right? So, remember previously we read that AMD was complaining about the CEO was saying that it costs too much to get homegrown chips rather than Taiwan chips, foreign chips, because it's 20% more, 5 to 20% more. But now, they can't go without this supplier. Remember, Taiwan is and China, they're the biggest producers, not only chips, a lot of technologies, right? That's where their society is the way there is right now. It's basically a smart nation, bunch of smart cities and countries in that region. NVIDIA and AMD have reportedly agreed to give 15% of their PRC revenues in exchange for export license. So they have to agree to give up, a percentage like the mafia to the government, to the American government for them to trade to China. U.S. chip-making giants NVIDIA, if I'm pronouncing it right, and AMD have agreed to transfer 15% of their revenue from sales in China to the U.S. government in exchange for export licenses. Several news outlets have reported on Sunday, citing people familiar with the situation. At the center of the reported quid pro quo deal on NVIDIA's China-specific H20 graphics processing unit and AMD's MI308 chip, both of which were restricted by the U.S. regulators in April amid escalating tensions between Washington and Beijing. At the time, officials warned that the chips could be used to advance PRC's, People Republic of China's military artificial intelligence capabilities. Right? It's always that excuse, right? Oh, anything any nation has, what is it, Babylon, the liar says? Oh, they're using it for military advance. Oh, they're using nuclear production to build nuclear missiles. Oh, they're using, everything is used to go for military, right? For building the defense, because they think these nations are gonna go, well, they are according to prophecy, blow them away. So that is true, actually, But for the most part, it's for chipping the citizens. That they're using a lot of these technologies, again, are in line. They're all connected into this New World Order, right? They're all, remember, because all these government leaders of all these other nations, they're part of they're part of an esoteric society. You're right. All these leaders support the agenda, right? Remember, they're all part of the NWO. It says they reported, so they're using this to again go with the NWO. Part of it's not the NWO if the people are not C-hipped, right? The reported agreement comes a month after Washington announced that NVIDIA would be allowed to resume sales of its H20 chips in China. However, the New York Times noticed that the U.S. government had not actually issued the license required to make those sales possible at the time. The U.S. Commerce Department reportedly began granting H-20 export licenses only last Friday, 2 days after NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang personally met with the U.S. President Donald Trump. A U.S. official told the Financial Times that the administration had also started issuing licenses for AMD chips. It says, we follow rules of the U.S. government sets for our participation in the worldwide market. See, worldwide market. Maybe I should put that in the title. You know, chips is a worldwide market. It's a hot commodity, right? Well, in the worldwide market, if you were to make a list, top three things is chips, right? Anything that supports that technology. Declined to either confirm or deny the agreement. The deal could funnel over $2 billion to the U.S. authorities. The New York Times noted the administration has yet to decide how to use the money. La la la. So that was it. We don't need to read anymore. So let's get a scripture here, but see what else. All right, Daniel's 12:1. It says, and at that time shall Michael stand up. So this is the scripture. You know, the point is in verse 4. All right, and I'm eager to see what it says in the NLT too. I want to see what that says. But let's read. So this is a prophecy that we're in, because none of this, you know, the Motb manifesting itself in the last days cannot come with what verse 4 is saying. So this is prophecy. We're at this stage. So let's read. It says, at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people. Right? Who's the Lord's people? Right? The nation of Israel. Right? Michael the archangel. Right? Head of all the angels in the heavens. And he's going to stand up for the nation of Israel. Right? Because the Lord's coming back to save his people. Right? From the power of the Father. Right? His children. Right? So we have a defender, man. Number one, Yahweh Shai. And also the angels, man, archangels, they're going to be defending too. It says, and there shall be a time of trouble, all right, such as never once since there was a nation, even to that time, same time, and that in that time thy people should be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book. See, that's heavy. Revelation, the 5th chapter, right? People who are written in the book is talking about the ones that are going to be saved the first go around. You know, meaning that we're all saved through the blood of the Lord as a nation, right? But there's two parts to it, meaning that the first meaning that the 1/3 that's going to be saved when the people that's going to be saved when the Lord comes back is only going to be 1/3 in the nation of Israel, right? The 2/3. You're going to be in the kingdom, but you're going to come back. You're going to be born back into the kingdom. You know, through the ones that were saved when the Lord came, you're going to be born through those men, those families, starting with the men. And you're not going to be born back into the kingdom until after a full day, which would be 1,000 years, right? So you're going to come back to a kingdom already built and prepared for you by the red rat, Edom. The nation of Edom, starting with the elite banking families. All right. So again, at that time shall Michael stand up for the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And that time, so there will, so we're coming into the last days. There's never days like we're coming into. That's why it's called the last days, and we need to be saved from it. At that time, thy people shall be delivered, right? From who? The deliverer, Yahweh Shai. He is the deliverer. Yah meaning he, Excuse me, Ya meaning he, Yaha, the meaning the, Washai meaning deliverer, he the deliverer. Everyone that shall be found written in the book. So the ones that are going to be saved the first go around, and many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life and some to everlasting contempt. Right? People are going to wake up, which means this everlasting life represents the ones who are going to be saved, the 1/3 of the nation of Israel, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. That's talking about the wicked, starting with the wicked of the 2/3 of the nation of Israel. All right, you're gonna be have your head down in the kingdom for a few hundred years. Not bad, it's a kingdom. You know what I mean? But you're gonna, you know, eternity is a long time. So the first part of the eternity, however long that may be, a few hundred years, who knows? But you're gonna be looking back and saying, "Damn, I'm ashamed. How I was a 2/3 in that world." And then you're gonna look around, and so you're gonna be ashamed. There's a precept to back that up. I think it's Ezekiel. See if I can find that real quick. I think Ezekiel. All right, I found this. Ezekiel 36 and 29, I think. 31. Yeah, so this is the point to back up what we read in Daniel's. Right? It says, "Then shall you remember your own evil ways and your doings that were not good." Let me see real quick. I'll start from here. Ezekiel 36 and 28 to 27. 26. Oh boy, I gotta go there. Oh man. 26. All right, that's it. A new heart also will I give you, right? Talking about the kingdom, the salvation, and a new spirit will I put within you, which is the spirit of righteousness. And I will take away the stony heart out of your flesh, and I will give you an heart of flesh. Stony heart meaning that stubborn flesh, the stony flesh of the flesh. But the Lord's going to give us, I will not give you a heart of flesh, meaning a spiritual mind, right? That heart really goes back to mind, right? So that stony heart, meaning that rebellious head, right? Hard flint head. The Lord's not going to make it hard anymore. It's not going to make it stubborn, right? And I will give you a mind of flesh, which is extraterrestrial, right? We're going to be extraterrestrial beings, meaning extra-human, superhuman. Terrestrial means from terrain, from the ground, but we're going to be extraterrestrial, super men. The ground, by the way, goes back to the word, man goes back to the word ground, by the way, right? Odama, Adam, which means son of the ground, right? So the Lord's going to give us that mind of, he's going to make us he's going to make us supermen, extraterrestrial, basically saying a superman, right? Power. And I will put my spirit within you and cause you to walk in my statutes, and you shall keep my judgments and do them, right? And ye shall dwell in the land that I gave to your fathers, and ye shall be my people, and I will be your power, and I will multiply the fruit of the tree and the increase of the field, that ye shall receive no more reproach of famine among the heathen. Meaning we're going to be good. Our stables, our stocks of food and inventory for that, agriculture is going to be innumerable. There's going to be innumerable, right? We're never going to go through famine, never going to starve, none of that. Then shall you remember your own evil ways and your doings that were not good. The point. Then shall you remember your own evil ways and your doings that were not good, and shall loathe yourselves in your own sight for your iniquities and for your abominations, right? So, yeah, that's where you're going to remember. Going back to Daniel's, what did it say in Daniel's real quick? It says, at that time shall Michael stand up for the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble, such as was never since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, every one shall be found written in the book. And many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame, and to everlasting contempt. Right? So we just proved that in right here, Ezekiel, right, 31. Then shall you remember your old, 36 and 31, your own evil ways, and your doings that were not good, and shall loathe yourselves in your own sight for your iniquities and for your abominations. The Lord says, not for your sakes do I do this, said the Lord power. Be it known unto you, be ashamed and confounded for your own ways, O house of Israel. Thus said the Lord, in the day that I shall have cleansed you from all your iniquities, I will also cause you to dwell in the cities and the waste. All right, so that was, shall be built. All right, so that was it there. Let's go back. Right, so we got that. Verse 2. And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn the many to righteousness, right, as the stars forever and ever. Again, and they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament. And that's talking about the elect. All right. We're going to have a glow, man. A lot of these AI videos depicting, the brothers do, depicting what we're going to try to depict what we're going to look like in the kingdom. It can't capture what we're going to be, man. All right. We're going to be way more than what we look like, because the way we look now is still under the curses, man. You may be symmetrical and all that kind of stuff, but I remember Elder Design one said something funny years ago, which I was like, I felt it was, we're all tainted, man, through mixing with these other nations, like it tells you in Genesis, when the Lord didn't want us mixing with the other nations like that, but we're tainted, we're all scattered, but we're gonna go back to how we originally look, but better, all right. We've tainted ourselves and mixing ourselves with the Hamites. No such thing as a mix, but the point is that because you are where your father is through his seed, but overall we have mingled ourselves with the other nations. So but the point is that in the kingdom we're gonna shine as the brightness of the firmament, man. We're gonna be superhuman. We're gonna have a glow. We're gonna have an aura. Our elements in our body are gonna have an aura, just like the firmament in the heavens. That's why this AI stuff, how depicting what you think we might be in the kingdom, it can't get close. So that's number one. I mean, even when you read the description of the Lord, right, in Revelation 1 and 13, it describes his skin, polished brass. He had an aura. He had a glow. Right, the elements of his body were shimmering, like a shimmer. Right, and they remember what happened to Moses when he got that knowledge. He had to put a veil over his head because his face was so bright. Right, scriptures say, "Wisdom maketh a man face to shine." And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book even to the time of the end, and many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. That's the point. Right? Many shall run to and fro in the latter days, meaning going from one place to another, from one city to another. But how? Really fast. But it said, but knowledge should be increased. So that's how it's talking about a faster way of traveling, because why would it mention running to and fro? Why would it mention knowledge being increased right after it says to and fro? Right, meaning that people could get around the world in the latter days. There's going to be people getting from one spot to another very fast, and the fastest thing that's going to the fastest thing that's going to go from one part of the earth to another is an intercontinental ballistic missile. Okay, we can't get to this, to the latter days. We can't get to being delivered without knowledge being increased for things to go to and fro, right? And that's all for the latter days. All right, that's why we need the Lord to be delivered. Not only cars, airplanes, boats, trains, and all these kind of things, right? But overall, ain't nothing faster than a hypersonic missile. Okay, and yeah. So again, technology got us to this state, right? Knowledge being increased for you to be technical enough to make these devices, right? Let's look at that in the NLT. I'm curious. Let's look in the NLT. So let's read that again. It's my first time doing this. It says, Daniel 12:1. At that time, Michael, the archangel who stands guard over your nation, will rise. Then there will be a time of anguish greater than any since nation first came into existence. But at that time, every one of your people whose name is written in the book will be rescued. Woo! Woo! Hey. Oh man, I don't want to use NLT like that, but I'm starting to now though. I'm late to the party. Look at that, man. Many of those who's gonna rescue us? Yahweh Shai, right? Many of those whose bodies lie dead and buried will rise up, some to everlasting life, and some to everlasting shame, everlasting disgrace. That's right. And I gotta prove that too. I gotta go there. Let's prove that. All right, so we're gonna precept. Let's get that again. We're gonna precept. Where was that? We were at Oh yeah, and many of those whose bodies lie dead, buried, will rise up to everlasting life and to everlasting disgrace. That's the NLT version, right? King James says, many of those whose bodies oh boy. Let me just get to the point, Salaki. All right. So that's a precept of Jonas 12:2, but let's prove that in John. So this is John 5:28. It says, marvel not at this, right? For the hour is coming in which all that are in the grave shall hear his voice. So marvel not at this, meaning don't bug out, don't lose your wits, don't fret, don't bug out about what I'm about to say, right? And this is the Lord speaking, by the way, Lord Yahweh Shai. So Yahweh Shai says, marvel not at this, for the hour is coming in which all that are in the grave shall hear his voice. Right? Going back to Daniel's 12:2, where it says, again, right? And and many of them that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake. We just read, this is it. Again, Yahweh Shai says, marvel not at this, for the hour is coming in which all that are in the grave shall hear his voice, and shall come forth, they that have done good, unto the resurrection of life, meaning the ones who sleep, right? Like it says in Thessalonians, the 4th chapter, right? Thessalonians, what does it say in Thessalonians about the ones that sleep? Meaning so-called pass away, so-called die, right? I say so-called because there is no such thing as death. Only the elect know that, by the way, right? your energy transfers, right? So, 1 Thessalonians 4:13. Here again, another warning. But I would not have you to be ignorant, brethren, right? So you can't believe in the Lord and go around believing and not know this. All right. So it's a bad thing if you don't know this. So but I would not have you to be ignorant, brethren, Akim, concerning them which are asleep, that ye sorrow not, even as others which have no hope. So that's how you know it's talking about death, because who sorrows when you go to sleep? A lot of people love sleep. All right, sleep is very healthy for you, man, and getting a good sleep is one of the key things to health. It's probably the top one. You can work out, eat right, but if you don't get that good sleep, 7 hours all you need, pretty much your body won't recover, won't heal, won't break down those cells, won't get rid of it. You know what I mean? If your sleep is off, you all messed up, man, no matter what you do. All right? So it ain't talking about that. It's talking about death, right? So it says, but I would not have you to be ignorant, brethren, concerning them which are asleep, that ye sorrow not, even as others which have no hope. Because people who don't have the hope, who don't have the knowledge of the Lord, who put in the work and the time to study, to show themselves to prove, to study the scriptures, right? To do the work to get understanding. They don't understand death, right? For if we believe that Yahushua died and rose again, even so them also which sleep in Yahushua will the Most High bring with him. So the ones like Abba Bivens, King Mashah, High Priest Iquab, our beloved brother Barak Abar, Barak Abar, our brother. All right, hey man, we're gonna see him again, man. They're gonna rise. They're gonna rise. All right. For this, so they're coming in the chariots, man. First, all right. For this we say unto you by the word of the Lord, that we which are alive and remain unto the coming of the Lord shall not prevent them which are asleep. So us being who are alive, who are blessed to even see the ships come when the Lord come. Guess what? All right, that's not going to prevent them who so-called passed away in this work, doing the work of the Lord. They're going to be saved too. Okay, they're going to be in them ships too. For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trumpet of the Most High, and the dead, see, that's how you never talk about it, and the dead in the Lord, in Yahushua, shall rise first, up together with them in the clouds to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. Wherefore comfort one another with these words. So look, man, look, the ones who pass away and the ones who are going to pass away, who are in our lot to pass away in the near future, right? It don't matter if you die in the name of the Lord, doing the work of the Lord, and in faith, you can be in them ships, man, guaranteed, man. First class tickets, all right. You in there first, man. All right. So so let's go back to this here, right? So marvel not at this, for the hour is coming, and in the which all that are in the graves shall hear his voice. Right, we just proved it. Right, and shall come forth, they that have done good unto the resurrection of life. Right, and they that have done evil unto the resurrection of damnation. Resurrection means to come back up. Right, to erect, to come back up, stand up. And amen. I don't need to break that down. So there are people going to rise who are wicked. Kobe Bryant, Biggie, Tupac, Skittles package ass, wicked niggas who died in this world comfy. All right, wicked prophets. They're gonna rise back up too to get destroyed, man. They're gonna be in that missile. So people think when they die, oh yeah, I'm not gonna be in the fire. No, you're gonna be in the fire. You're gonna rise back up and you're gonna be in the missiles, man. You see, so it ain't over. And it says, I can of my own self do nothing. Let me see. So that was a point there, right? So that's a heavy verse. Look at that, 5, right? So that proves what Daniel's 12. Many of those whose bodies lie dead and buried will rise up, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting disgrace. Right? So that was it there, but I got this one to bring out. But you, Daniel, keep this prophecy a secret. Seal up the book until the time of the end. Excuse me. Time of the end, and when many will rush here and there, and knowledge will increase. That's the NLT. You know what? Let's look at the NLT of John real quick. Let's look at the NLT of that. See what the and I'll finish. And it says, and he has given him authority to judge. La la la. Oh, don't be surprised. All right, it says, indeed, the time is coming when all the dead in their graves will hear the voice of God's Son, Yahweh Shai, and they will rise again. Those who have done good will rise to experience eternal life, and those who have continued in evil will rise to experience judgment, the missiles, the fire. So, right there. So that's beautiful, man. All right, so that was it. It's 50 minutes. I don't really got nothing else. Yeah. You know, let me read one more. Revelation 3 and 9. Right? Revelation 3 and 9, it says, behold, look, I will make them of the synagogue. No, 3 and 12. 3 and 11. Behold, I come quickly, hold fast, which thou hast, that no man take thy crown. It says, verse 12, him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my power, meaning endure to the end, overcome. Right? What did the Lord said? One of my favorite scriptures that, you know, you're feeling down or you're feeling up. It don't matter. You're feeling it in the spirit. If you believe, this always puts a smile and lift you up. It exalts you. It exalts your spirit, because he said overcome, right? So this is St. John 16. It reads, St. John 16:33. These things are spoken unto you, that in me ye might have peace. In the world ye shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. All right. So look, man, we keep that that discipline in the Lord. You know, that love, which is the order, right? The order of following the Lord's commandments, which shows that you care for His word, right? So you get an order. You follow His commandments. Love, power. The power is understanding for you to comprehend. All praise be to Yahweh Shemashai for us, for you to understand His truth, right? All power, love, power, and a sound mind. The sound mind is that discipline, right? And you don't get that discipline being a disciple of the Lord and a disciplinary, right? Because when you're disciplined, then you could teach people to be disciplined. You could be a disciplinary. You could teach this word, meaning being a prophet. And you could teach the ways of the Lord, which is the ultimate disciplinary or disciplined one, is the one that has faith in the Lord, and starting with the name. So that's what gives you a sound mind, right? Nothing's gonna shake you. All right. Isaiah 33 verse 6, wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord is his treasure. All right. So that's the sound mind. You know, that faith gives you tranquility in the Lord, man. You know, and people are going to notice that as time gets more shaky, the elect will get more noticed, because it's going to be surreal to us, all right? Because we already kind of lived it through prophesying about it so much. Right, but it says, in the world ye have showed tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. This is Lord Yahweh Shai's words, all right? He has overcome the world. So back to Revelation 3 and 12, him that overcometh, right? right? Will I make a pillar in the temple of my power, meaning a support, part of the government that upholds the standards of Yahweh Shemashai through his order, through his decrees, through his commandments, right? And is going to be held up by his men, starting with Yahweh Shai. The Lord is going to make us a pillar, a nobleman, a respected king, the most respected king, the most respected man of all are the elect. Why? Because we stood so stiffly for the first begotten spirit, for the man himself, Yahweh Shai. Right? Even the Most High said, "This is my son, in whom I hear ye him." Okay, this is my son in whom I'm well pleased. All right, we're gonna be famous for believing in the Lord when the whole world didn't. All right, the elect, right? Him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my power. The fuck, right? I grabbed a nap, but it still rolled off my hand, motherfucker. Anyway, him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my power, and he shall go no more out. Right? And I will write them upon him. I will write up upon him, and in the name of the city of my power, and he shall go no more out, and I will write upon him the name of my power, and the name of the city of my power, which is New Jerusalem, which cometh down out of heaven from my power, and I will write upon him my new name. Right? Talking about the elect men coming down with them new bodies, like Revelation 20:21 I think says, or 21. I didn't want that one though, but that's the spirit. I didn't want that one, but that's the spirit. So it was verse 10, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, which means enduring again, right? For you to endure to the end, that means you overcame, and that takes patience for you to overcome.